All right, this is Mr. Surface, and here's the homework video for tonight. Unit 2, lattice scavenger hunt. You're going to fill in every single other space on this lattice. So if you see a space, you've got to have it filled. And when you're done, I'd like you to turn it over and take the time to think or build brain links. In other words, what did you write down? What is defined in the center? Dramatic irony. What does dramatic irony mean? Well, you would think to yourself, let me think. Irony is something that is when you expect one thing, but you get the opposite. So dramatic irony is a little bit different. The characters don't know anything, but the audience does. So the characters will receive an unexpected event, but the audience expects it. And in that relationship between the audience and what's happening to the characters, that's where tension is. And tension was something we already put on here, but it's worth putting on again. Tension. Obviously, you're not putting a giant tension. You're just writing it again and putting a big exclamation point next to it because that's one of the more important things for us to remember about this, okay? So, as we write on our lattice and fill in every other part, please make sure you are taking a moment to try and get it to stick in your head. It's worth taking the time. So, dramatic irony. Dramatic irony occurs in everyday life when a situation is happening and yet the person within the situation is unaware of what is occurring. It also happens in art, of course. So, a lot of the tension in this derives from knowing a little something about history, knowing something about the Holocaust. And we're going to take some time now and fill in the rest of our notes using this background information here. We might go over this in class again, but for homework tonight, you are including it with the dramatic irony because history and dramatic irony in this play are have an important relationship with one another. Okay, let's do it. Oop, there's Hitler right there. I hate that guy. All right. In 1918, the First World War came to an end and Germany was defeated. The Treaty of Versailles set harsh terms for Germany's surrender. The country had to make huge payments, give up territory, and severely limit the size of its armed forces. So, this is 1918, the end of the First World War, and Germany was the bad guy in that one as well. The Treaty of Versailles had harsh terms for Germany's surrender. Okay? One of the surviving soldiers was a man named Adolf Hitler, who was outraged by the terms of the treaty and determined that they should be overturned. In 1921, Hitler became the leader of a small political party, the National Socialist German Workers' Party, also known as the Nazi Party. Right? That's what Nazi stands for. At first, the party had little influence, but it quickly gained support as the Great Depression of 1929, right? In America, that included stuff like the Dust Bowl. It included the Wall Street crash. Wall Street crash. That was 1929. Began to devastate the German economy and impoverish German citizens. Impoverish means to make poor. Many Germans were desperate for change, and Hitler was a charismatic speaker who promised to make Germany prosperous and powerful again. I feel like I've heard that language before. In 1933, Hitler became chancellor, head of the government. From the very beginning, Nazis made it their goal to control all aspects of German life. All newspapers and radio stations that did not support the party were censored. Bookstores and libraries were raided, and thousands of books were burned. All other political parties and social organizations except the Nazi Party and Hitler Youth were banned. Hitler's opponents were arrested or killed. This all happened in the first few months of 1933. Nazi ideology. An ideology is a system of ideas. Nazis believed in the superiority of the Aryan race, an invented category of pure Germans that excluded Jews, gypsies. Another invented category, if you didn't know this, is Caucasian. It was invented by a racist scientist. It was very spurious science, and that came up with that term Caucasian. It's not a real term. Notice here that you'll see Jews wearing the Star of David. They had to wear that on their person. These are the boxcars here in the background that they would cart them to the various death camps with. They used a network of trains to get them there. Descendants from Eastern Europe. They targeted German Jews in particular for violence. German Jews includes Mr. Frank, and persecution. Nazis forced Germans to boycott Jewish-run businesses, banned Jews from many professions, and prevented Jews from marrying those they considered Aryan or pure Germans. There's a parallel here with intermarriage, which was against the law between blacks and whites in the United States. So there's some unsettling parallels sometimes. In 1938, the Nazis organized a rampage called the Night of Broken Glass. Kristallnacht. It's a German word for Night of Broken Glass. Destroying homes, businesses, and synagogues. More than 90 Jews were killed and 30,000 were imprisoned in concentration camps. The message from German Jews was clear: leaving everything behind and flee Germany or face persecution. These attacks, some often like drunken attacks on Jews, had a history, the centuries of persecution against the Jews, and those were called pogroms. Pogroms. Okay. The final solution. 1939, Germany invaded Poland, starting World War II. As the Nazis overran much of Europe, their plans for Jews became increasingly extreme. They rounded them up and relocated them to sealed ghettos, in which overcrowding and starvation were common. Ghetto has a different connotation today, but this is one of those moments where denotation and connotation, right, the life of the word, have a lot to say to one another, right? Especially since denotation will often involve the history of the word. Okay, so it's something to think about. Even treatment this harsh rapidly intensified as German plans grew more organized and deadly. In 1942, the Nazis began to transport millions of Jews from all across Europe to forced labor camps and extermination camps they had established. In two camps in Poland, perhaps a quarter of the prisoners were worked to death. The rest were sent immediately to gas chambers to be killed. In the other four camps, all prisoners were gassed as soon as they arrived. When the Allied forces finally occupied Germany, the Allied forces include the US, Canada, uh, sorry, the British, um, eventually the French, or in the beginning the French, eventually Italy, but they sided with the Axis powers at first with the dictator Mussolini. But the final solution had already resulted in the deaths of about 6 million Jews, two-thirds of Europe's pre-war Jewish population. All right. You can, of course, make as many connections as you like. If there's any space left on your lattice, feel free to use any of these images here. Not all of them are great. I'm just strolling through the. Oh, whoa! Ooh, Oedipus. Ooh, I love that stuff. I love that stuff. That's Sophocles wrote those plays. You'll read those in college. Romeo and Juliet. Oh, oh boy. Oh boy. Yikes. Da, 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 da. Mm. And I'll leave you with that one. See you tomorrow.